Have you ever noticed how the people with the most seem to smile the least? How those with grand mansions, luxury cars, and overflowing bank accounts often appear restless, distracted, or deeply unsatisfied? It's a question that echoes quietly through every generation. If wealth is the key to happiness, why do so many rich lives feel so painfully empty? Today we explore the gentle truth behind this paradox, why the richest people aren't always the happiest, and what that reveals about what truly matters in life. When we are young, we often imagine happiness as a destination, a place where our struggles disappear, our dreams are fulfilled, and life finally feels complete. For many, that destination is tied to wealth. We dream of the day when money is no longer a concern, when we can buy whatever we want, go wherever we please, and live however we wish. But as many discover, sometimes, painfully, that moment of arrival does not bring the peace we expected. Instead, it reveals something deeper, that the mind never stops wanting, even when it already has everything. The world tells us that success equals happiness, that if you climb high enough, earn enough, and own enough, you'll finally feel fulfilled. Yet countless stories tell the opposite tale. Celebrities with millions of fans, billionaires with global empires, and tycoons who seem to have it all often speak of loneliness, anxiety, and a quiet ache that no possession can fill. They have mastered the art of earning, but not the art of being content. Happiness, you see, is not a reward for achievement. It is a state of peace, and peace cannot be purchased. You can buy comfort, but not contentment. You can buy admiration, but not affection. You can buy pleasure, but not purpose. And without purpose, without love, meaning, and connection, wealth becomes an empty shell that echoes with the sound of what's missing. There is a psychological truth called the hedonic treadmill. It means that no matter how much our lives improve, we eventually return to the same level of happiness we started with. You buy a new car. You feel thrilled for a few weeks. You move into a bigger house. You're excited for a while. But soon those things become your new normal. The joy fades, and your mind searches for something new to chase. The treadmill keeps moving and you keep running, never truly arriving. Wealth can create an illusion of control, the feeling that money can solve everything. And while it can fix many external problems, it cannot touch the internal ones. It cannot erase grief, heal loneliness, or bring back lost time. In fact, the more one possesses, the more one fears losing it. And that fear quietly erodes the very peace that wealth was supposed to bring. Think of happiness not as a mountain to climb, but as a garden to tend. You cannot force it to bloom by adding more soil or pouring in more gold. It grows slowly, nurtured by gratitude, simplicity, and love. The richest lives are not always those filled with possessions, but those filled with presence. Many wealthy people discover this truth the hard way. They spend decades building their fortunes, only to realize they neglected the simple joys of living. They missed dinners with family, laughter with friends, the sound of rain, the warmth of a hug. And when they finally have time for these things, they find they have drifted too far from them. The price of success was paid in moments that will never return. There's an old story about a fisherman and a businessman. The businessman, seeing the fisherman resting by his small boat, asks, "Why aren't you out catching more fish?" The fisherman smiles and says, "I've caught enough for today." The businessman insists, "If you caught more, you could buy a bigger boat, then more boats, build a company, become rich, and retire. The fisherman asks, "And what would I do then?" The businessman replies, "Then you could relax and enjoy your days." The fisherman chuckles softly and says, "But that's what I'm doing now." That story captures a quiet wisdom, the understanding that happiness doesn't always grow with wealth. Sometimes it shrinks under its weight. The simplest lives often hold the deepest peace because they are lived in alignment with what truly matters: family, nature, gratitude, purpose, and love. Loneliness is another shadow that follows wealth. When money becomes abundant, sincerity becomes scarce. The wealthy often wonder who truly cares for them, who loves them, and not their possessions or power. Genuine relationships are replaced with transactions. Friends become associates, conversations become strategic, and love becomes conditional. In that isolation, the heart grows hungry, even when the wallet is full. We all need to be seen, understood, and cared for, not because of what we have, but because of who we are. No amount of money can replace that human warmth. Some of the richest people in the world would trade fortunes for one day of simple, unconditional love. When wealth becomes the goal, it blinds us to the truth that meaning matters more than money. The happiest people often aren't the wealthiest. They are the ones who wake up with gratitude, who find joy in small things, who love deeply and live simply. They measure their days not by what they earn, but by what they experience. They find beauty in the ordinary: a morning cup of tea, a walk in the garden, the laughter of a grandchild, the quiet peace of a sunset. There's a calm, wisdom that comes with age, the realization that life isn't about how much you collect, but how much you connect. That in the end, happiness is not measured in bank statements, but in moments that make your heart full. Money has its place, of course. It brings comfort, security, and opportunity. It can free you from hardship. But beyond a certain point, it stops adding happiness. Studies have shown that once basic needs and modest comforts are met, additional income adds little to overall well-being. The key difference lies not in how much you have, but how you live. A simple dinner shared with loved ones can bring more joy than a feast in a lonely mansion. A kind word, a gentle hand, a shared laugh. These are the currencies of a life well lived. True wealth is measured not by possessions, but by peace of mind. Many who reach the peak of material success begin to ask deeper questions. What now? What does this all mean? Who am I without my wealth? These are spiritual questions, the kind that money cannot answer. They are questions of the soul, not the wallet. And the answers come not through buying, but through being. It is often in simplicity that we rediscover our hearts. When life slows down, when we stop chasing, we begin to see what was always there. The joy in giving, the peace in gratitude, the beauty in silence. The richest moments in life are often the quietest ones. Moments that remind us we already have everything we need. There's a story of a king who owned everything: gold, lands, and power, but could not sleep at night. He sent his advisors to find someone who was truly happy, hoping to learn their secret. After a long search, they found a humble farmer who sang while he worked, smiled through hardship, and slept peacefully every night. The king summoned him and asked, How are you so happy when you have so little?" The farmer smiled and said, "Because I know that what I have is enough." That is the secret that wealth often hides, the quiet joy of enough. When we stop measuring happiness by quantity, we begin to feel its quality. Happiness grows not from having more, but from wanting less. In every generation, people rediscover this truth in their own way. Some through loss, some through failure, some through a quiet realization that the chase never ends. And yet, once they stop chasing, they find themselves at peace, not because they gave up, but because they finally woke up to what matters. Happiness lives in moments, not milestones. In the warmth of a sunrise, the sound of laughter, the comfort of a shared meal, the touch of a loving hand. These are things that cannot be bought or sold. They are gifts, fragile, fleeting, precious. As we grow older, we begin to understand that life's richest treasures were never material. They were memories, the faces we loved, the kindness we gave, the time we shared. We begin to see that wealth without wisdom is hollow, and that success without peace is failure in disguise. So what can we learn from the unhappiness of the rich? Perhaps that happiness was never meant to be pursued outwardly. It grows from within. It is the quiet satisfaction of living in harmony with yourself, doing meaningful things, being kind, and appreciating the gift of life as it unfolds, not as you wish it to be, but as it is. True happiness is humble. It doesn't demand attention, doesn't need validation, doesn't shout to be seen. It whispers softly in the background of a well-lived life. You can hear it in the laughter of children, the silence of dawn, the rhythm of your own heartbeat. The world may never stop chasing wealth, but those who pause long enough to understand this truth find something far greater than riches. They find peace, and peace, unlike wealth, cannot be lost, stolen, or spent. It lives in gratitude. It grows in kindness. It stays in simplicity. So tonight, when you think about your dreams, your ambitions, your goals, remember this: there is nothing wrong with wanting success. But do not mistake wealth for worth or luxury for love. Chase purpose, not possessions. Seek meaning, not money. And when you finally reach the top, make sure your heart has climbed with you. Because at the end of the road, no one remembers how much you owned. They remember how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how peacefully you left. That is the truest form of wealth. That is the quiet happiness the richest rarely find. And that is the wisdom we can all carry no matter what we have. For more videos, subscribe my channel.